Here we are back once again, hoping this time that things are working a little bit better. We've managed to change a few bits. We've plugged the internet in and out. Everything was looking pretty solid. We're still getting some pretty bad looking signal on my end, so please do. Channy's saying, is it lagging? If we do have any issues in the sort of next couple of moments, let us know, because it might be a situation where Quinny and I have to record this off air at this stage, because cannot for the life of us figure out these studio gremlins. So Channy, Parrot Press, JC, everyone in the chat, please let us know how it's looking. It looks all right on my screen, but I am getting signal in the bottom right that OBS is the camera lag we can live with, I guess. What do you reckon, Quinny?
Yeah, it looks good to me on my side. I'm just getting past the Mission Impossible advert. I
mean, that's the point.
It looks like it's fine and working to me.
It looks all right on my screen, but the signal in the bottom corner suggests that we are having some like dropout issues, maybe with the internet. Yeah. FIFA Roy, afternoon, everyone. We'll wait a second, see if it calms down. If we're all right, we'll get going. If not, we might have to record this off live, unfortunately. Audio's good, quality good. The occasional camera stutter isn't bad. What do you reckon, gang? Should we plug the old webcam back in, Quinny, or what do you think?
I say let's roll with the punches, mate.
Roll with it. All right, sweet.
Well,
not too bad. Really we are dropping out every now and then, but I mean, strange. The signal's looking a little bit weird on the screen. Maybe I should just stop looking at it. Everything else looks and sounds fine. I can hear you fine. So maybe we'll roll with it. Fingers crossed it all comes out all right. Okay. On that note, welcome everyone. It is episode 61, apparently, of the End Product Podcast. My name is Stish, and as always, I have my spar Quinny to the right of me on screen if you're watching via Twitch right now. If you are listening via the podcast, then you can't see him. So, Quinny, welcome. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm getting there. It's been another kind of calm summer week, doing some moves in the market, watching out for some bits and pieces here and there. And I'm doing well, mate, and everything's calm on the Western Front, let's say. Not all quiet, but certainly calm.
We'll take that, definitely. I've been surprisingly busy in the market. We've been talking the last few weeks about I'm trying to keep out of it a little bit and figure out what's going on and maybe just sit on the sidelines a bit more. But I have definitely got sucked in to a few bargains on the auction market and a few sort of moves that I felt maybe had gone under the radar, got sort of tempted in. So I picked up Nigel Lonwijk super rare. He's going to be playing at Grasshoppers this year. So I thought that was an interesting move. He had a really good season on loan away from Wolverhampton Wanderers last season, and he's been on the platform when I think his cards were minted when he was at Sittard. So, looking forward to seeing how he does. I can pair him up with my Sekos Unique. So that was kind of what suckered me into that one. Glenn Hoddle in the chat is saying that Conan Endry is getting some links to Ghent today as well. I'll take that. Definitely take that. I think he's got a good season ahead of him, potentially. He's been linked to Lille as well, so it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But, also, Scooney in the chat mentioning that Spicer offloaded all his football cards, didn't he, to Pavel? So Pavel's got some vintage.
Pavel's got some stock, yeah, for sure. I spent a couple of hours yesterday, as I'm sure a lot of people did, looking at Pavel's new inventory and trying to work out if there was a wee cheeky Pavel situation you could have rolled yourself into. I ended up coming up with a wee bit of a short list. There was about 4 or 5 cards I would be sincerely interested in, but it's one of those ones where like the preparations for the season, maybe a few of these guys aren't exactly who I would normally be looking for, but when you get the Pavel opportunity, it's then marrying up like, oh wow, did I see this coming? So I've not found too many of them. Have you had to look through Pavel's inventory yourself?
I did. I put a few offers in, but I didn't even get a sort of a comeback from him. They were just straight out rejected. But I was listening to Haber and Laird and the PSU fans on the Sorare Data strategy show in the week when I was in the car, and they were talking about when's a good time to deal with Pavel, and it was quite an interesting chat. If you haven't listened to it, I recommend giving that a listen. But they were talking about like when is good to deal with Pavel and how long you've got, you know, that window of opportunity when he gets a good gallery. And yeah, lo and behold, Spicers becomes available to the masses. So I did have a little look, and I put in a couple of cheeky bids, like a couple of swaps, couple of bids. I just got swatted straight back at me. I'm just starting to get to that point now where I think I need, and I hate being in this position, but I think that it's dawning on me that I need more super rare goalkeeper options at the moment if I want to compete U23, potentially another, and maybe the cap mode. So I saw he had a Chris Brady from Spicer, and I thought, oh, that'd be quite good. Maybe that's the one. So I put in a couple of swap offers for the Chris Brady super rare. Nothing, not even a counter offer back. So I'm obviously very far off. I think I was kind of going off the precipice. I think Haber was talking about his Marlon card. That was the one that got me thinking, right? So he was talking about doing a swap with Pavel for his Marlon card, who is like one of the most expensive America's defender cards, right? But he felt in his heart that he was overvalued. So he went to Pavel hoping that they just kind of go off of the recent sales, blah, blah, blah. He gets maybe knocks 20% off, but still feels like he's getting a good deal because no one's buying him at that price. So I was looking through my gallery and I thought, what have I got that I feel is overpriced on its kind of like history or historic value? And I've got a Lucas Gorna-Duaf super rare, which is a good card to have in terms of like its utility for years to come. But I think the last super rare sale was like 2.7 ETH. So I was like, you know, even if I get 50% of that, I feel like as soon as his auctions come out this season, he could be like a 1.21 ETH card, maybe at best, that super rare. So I thought if I can get anywhere near that kind of value on it, then, you know, I'll use that as a part X in a trade to one of the bot traders or something. But until this Chris Brady popped up in Pavel's this week, there hasn't really been an opportunity for me to like utilize that opportunity, but it's been swatted away. So I think all of the bot accounts are a little bit wise to the fact that Gorna's probably like overvalued on super rare. But even some of them say like they'll value it at like 5x the rare if it's bait. I think I was looking at RUV, and the rules set around that bot are like based on the L15 score as well. So they'll do like 5x the rare price if the L15 is like 40 plus or 50 plus or something like that. So I thought, well, you know, there's still some value to be had there for that card. But yeah, just nothing's materialized. So back to the drawing board there. Have been a little bit active in the market. Got a few bids in. Really starting to get more tempted to pick up another unique. I kind of keep going in and out of it in waves. Like, is now the time? Do I leave it? Do I really need it? So yeah, that's been my back and forth. What about you, Quinny? Have you picked up any gold?
So 4 or 5 days ago, for rares especially, I was set probably maybe just one more piece or two here or there, and then it's just wait till the season starts. And then the main thing I had to wrestle with a week ago was just make sure I've got some European keepers for when the Americans go away. Just make sure by the time that happens, I've covered my bases. But with part of that, I'd bought Samuel Lino thinking he's going to Braga and that's like locked. But the tides have turned and it seems like he's going to be staying at Atleti. Ooh. So he's not going to be the power card I thought he was going to be. And also, I won a Zaniolo as a forward card. And I thought between the two of them, brilliant. Jota going to Saudi Arabia didn't affect me. But Zaniolo has had some links now to Saudi Arabia, and I just don't want to touch it. So I thought, well, I've got that, and it's a forward card, and it's a wee bit more valuable than a mid. Should be a bit more liquid because there's less of them. So I sold him this morning. I think it was this morning or last night. Not for that much, you know, it's about kind of normal price ranges, about 0.1 or so. But if he doesn't go to Saudi, it'll bite me in the ass quite heavily. But I thought, I'm not, like he was a reward. I just won, and he was meant to be happenstance cover for Jota. And if he runs the risk of doing that, then he's no use to me. So he's out. So I maybe have a spot for a striker at Rare before I go just getting ready for the season. And I've maybe got a spot, depending on transfers, for a super rare defender. But otherwise, I'm kind of waiting on, like, in super rare in particular, I'm waiting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys to secure a loan. They're at, they're all loan bait guys at Man City or Atleti or something like that, So I've still got a lot of things I'm just waiting on developing. But yeah, that kind of last minute, Zaniolo has been linked to Saudi, and Lino probably doesn't go to the Portuguese league now. Maybe there's a long window still to go, so Lino might turn around. I'm not going to be throwing him out with the bathwater, but I am now thinking, do I have room now again for a forward in the club? That's kind of where I'm at, mate.
Interesting. I'm glad you pointed that out about Lino, because I went back and forth on a potential trade for him in the week after the chat that we had on the podcast. I think you kind of sold him quite nicely to me, and I did go back and look at those scores in the Portuguese league and was very impressed with what I saw. So I thought, like another really like what could potentially become like an elite option for U23 at a club that's not going to be minting cards potentially. Like, I love that. I love cards that move to clubs like that where they've got the coverage but not the mints. So I did get sucked in a little bit, but nothing kind of materialized from my offers. But yeah, it's hard not to get sucked in at the moment. I think it's the excitement, seeing everything come together. I had a couple of wins as well talking on the end product front. I won a super rare and a rare and a couple of limiteds. Let me just get into my gallery and remind myself of the names of the players. They're not household names, but definitely had a bit of luck with a couple of them. So I think I finished 10th in under 23 super rare and picked up a Mohamed Farsi defender card, Canadian defender at Columbus Crew, and a Taisei Miyashiro rare card. So another U23 forward playing at Frontale. He starts most of the games. He doesn't put up a great deal of AA. That's the one gripe that I do have with that card is he's a bit decisive heavy, or like he's very much, he needs a decisive to score well. I like those forward cards that can put up a 10 to 20 AA just to give you that score to fall back on. But I think especially in U23, you need the big scores now. You need those dark greens, don't you? And I don't think he's that capable. When he does hit a big score, it's like a 65 to 70 score, not like an 80, not like a Cecilia-esque on the AA. But yeah, pretty happy with that. Also picked up, I've been in the market for U23 goalkeepers that I think might come in handy next season. So I've taken a couple of punts that maybe will come in if the number one keepers move. So I think I picked up the Sociedad number 2 goalkeeper and the Trabzonspor number 2. I think both of those number ones potentially could get a move. So yeah, taking a bit of a punt there on those 2 young goalkeepers. But I think for now, at least, the business is done unless I can pick up maybe like a unique. I'm still tempted by a unique or 2. I don't know. I just keep I was looking at the scores, like historic scores and what people have won. The idea of winning a star super rare in those unique divisions is very tempting, isn't it? But you have to win. And I think maybe I'm looking at it now, it's a little bit more warped because the scores are not massive. You're not playing against those galleries that are going to be rinsing out all of the sort of big top 5 European division cards that will open up for scoring in a few weeks' time. So I think, mate, you're almost like planning for this time next year if you're buying uniques now to try. So that's kind of my thinking at the minute. But yeah, I've been in the market. I think to get into one of the other talking points we were going to bring up, maybe part of it has been that kind of, the announcement in the week of the gas fees coming back into play and having a little bit of ETH balance. It's like, do I leave it on there with the intention of spending it, or like, is that to be withdrawn, and I decided to just leave it in. So I think kind of committing to the fact that that is there to be spent over the course of the season. Maybe that got me in spending mode unexpectedly. I kind of talked myself into spending it now. Did you follow that announcement much? Did you make, did that kind of come into your thoughts much in terms of like strategy wise, spending wise, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's probably a bigger change for me than most people on the platform. Like I did a video on the channel last week, Stish. I had to, it's called like my season review or something. I had to change the name after a couple of days just so that it gets a bit clickbaity and people still watch it in 6 months, But it's basically like a year summary and how much money I've, done on the platform over the last year. And, also I don't show you every time I withdraw or whatever, right? But like I withdraw kind of frequently, and yeah, so gas fees coming on is definitely a speed bump for me for sure. Because in the withdrawal process, I've got a video as well for how to withdraw if you're doing it on the system we currently have. Now, of course, we expect a new system to replace it imminently. So if it seems a bit complicated, don't worry about it. There'll be a workaround in place soon, we all imagine.
Yeah.
But the only fees you actually occur in that process before they being Sorare applied the gas fees at their stage of the transaction was just the gas fee you would get for selling ETH to your native currency at your exchange, Coinbase or whatever you use. So like I've withdrawn like from Sorare before like 4 or 5 grand, and it costed me nothing until the very last little bit. Whereas doing the crypto withdrawal mechanism, I think that's why they're putting gas in now, because I think the new withdrawal mechanism is going to be the mainstream withdrawal mechanism, and this is just going to be left behind as like a legacy thing because they're NFTs, because it's a crypto-based, blockchain-based, yada yada, and that's more going to be, in a year, it'll only be people like us that know you can withdraw from the platform that way.
Yeah,
like it'll probably just be so well kind of hidden in the wallet, and like you'd have to be a hardcore crypto person or an OG Sorare player to know that there's another withdrawal mechanism in there. So I think for the overall thing of the platform, I don't think it makes any difference at all. And I think it's a signal of them saying, right, we're not going to, carry the buck for this anymore to make your life easier, because we're going to give you something else that will make everyone's life easier. So if you still want to do it that way, charge on, but we're not going to be any different to anyone else that moves crypto around the internet. There's gas fees and we're not carrying them anymore. So with that, I was actually thinking about this when I had a wee train of thought go off when the notification bell hit for me. But see, with that, they have alleviated themselves of a massive liability as a business. And when you add in the fact that we have market fees on now, because the market fees, you'll notice, and they told us, won't apply to every card. Depends on the licensing agreement with the said card on the license, etc. So and I've made reference to this somewhere else because I heard Nicholas or somebody mention it eons ago somewhere, right? But in these deals they do have secondary market commission to pay to the licensed clubs. And right until the market fees come in, of course, they were carrying the can for that. So as much as we think about how much money Sorare has been making or how much money they've been posting, how much is on the sales figures and whatever is amazing, they have been carrying huge customer liabilities to this point, So I think as much as we want to see more developments, we want more stuff in the prize pool, we want more money paid out, we want more this, more that, more this, more that. One of the main things, particularly when the company's growing, people raise concern or want to discuss is the long-term viability of the company, the company's business model, its revenue structure, and all that kind of thing. And not only does these moves help legitimize some of that other stuff, that we're talking about, but it, number two, makes them overnight wildly more profitable as a company. I did when I started having kids, I've got 2 kids for some of you that know. The oldest is 7, and when he was born, again, not to go into all the ins and outs of it all, right, we had to get some surgery and stuff like that. My life kind of changed for a few years, and work took a back seat. Anyway, to cut a long one short, in that period where he was just born, and I was just like working, looking to get like a wage and just clock in, clock out, go home, kind of thing. I worked for a short period at Arnold Clark, which maybe some of you guys will know. It's like car sales and all that kind of stuff, right? And anyway, the point of this story is the month I started working there, Arnold Clark had just changed this mad company policy, right? So I can't remember exactly what it was, right? But for the whole of Arnold Clark, I think I remember what it was now. For the whole of Arnold Clark until like 2 or 3 years ago, almost said seasons there. The last number on every car was a 5 in terms of the price. So it'd be 17,995, 18,995, 12,995. So it's always like under the next grand, if you get me. And then when I joined, they changed it to 9. They moved everything up from 5 to 9. And everyone, you know, I remember I was only in there like a month or something. And I remember, oh, that's a bit stupid, you know, let's just forward a car. But if you look at that, they've got like 30 million cars or something across the UK, adding £4 onto all of them, you know, it doesn't seem like much, you know. And again, your little microtransactions in the market, you might think, oh, I'm getting charged this commission, it's like £2 or whatever. But point being, you know, that stacks up hugely in scale and whatever. So it's you know, it's just it's a dose of reality. I think some of these changes, it's Sorare has been carrying the can, has been carrying the buck, been paying the bill for a lot of this stuff. And now that there is going to be, we anticipate, mainstream, you know, let's just say Web 1, you know, solutions that most people are kind of comfortable with and familiar with maneuvering banks and whatever. It just means that they're alleviating themselves now. They don't need to. We're not carrying the can for this stuff anymore. We've done it for long enough. And let's move forward with the new system. It's probably where it's going to go.
I think it's a good point. And yeah, I think as soon as we saw gas fees in like being paid for, like I agree with you totally. I think it's like, you know, they're going to expect people to just withdraw to their bank anyway when like that's all launched, which, you know, we'd assume now that means that it's really literally around the corner. I think that they must be hoping it's ready now, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Excited to see what comes after it, really, as I'm sure most people are, just trying to see you know, what comes next for the platform in terms of its marketing, its rollout. We saw the big Zidane video. There seemed to be a massive furore about that, didn't there? Like, got emails, got notifications, saw the tweets popping off, watched the video, was excellent. You can see they put a lot of effort and time into thinking about how they storyboarded the whole situation and experience as well. So you kind of got like the beginning, middle, and end of the whole thing. And then got some more notifications that some of the winners went live with some of the streamers that are in the community. I saw Fiago went live with one of the winners and had a little chat about like what it was like. So this is the beginning. I think this is like the first. You can tell this was like a structured, planned out. This is how we're going to hit with this bit of content. They really thought about how they're going to ping it off every which way they can and make as much noise about the Zidane moment that they could. So if that's a signal of like what's to come from the marketing department of Sorare, then maybe this is like go time. And I think surely it's only a matter of time now before that fiat wallet is introduced and everything is all systems go, all hands on the pumps. So yeah, excited for it. I think it's, you know, we've been saying it on here for months, haven't we? But we feel like it's only around the corner now. It definitely, I think that Zidane kind of campaign felt like they thought it through a lot. You know, it was very calculated on maximizing the eyes and the excitement around that at this time when people are starting to sign up for FPL and all that kind of stuff starting again. So yeah, I think we're at that point now, aren't we? We're almost.
It does feel like the first piece across the board, doesn't it? Deploy Zidane marketing stuff. You know, release the video now and release all the assets and tell the guys to do the streams and whatever. For sure. I think we were speaking about it last week where we were kind of thinking about how would this month, or maybe the week before, how would this month pan out? You know, we'll get probably some more slice of life stuff. And then I think August is going to be, you know, the starting whistle is going to go. It's going to be very visible. We'll have the wallet in place. We'll probably have a lot of stuff lined up. We had a mass drop of American licenses this week, you know, all across the southern continent, as it were. So a lot of people were, I don't know how much you might get into this one, Stish, right? But people were a wee bit upset, or, you know, not, maybe upset is not the word, but had, you know, something to say about the way it was deployed, and, you know, there was other cards in the market and other bits and pieces and whatever. I think that as well. I think they've obviously got a laundry list of stuff to get through, like clubs that do need to get reissued for this season, and a few other bits and pieces. But like we've mentioned, kind of a note with the Saudi Arabia stuff, For me, Sorare want to make sure they've got as much of their ducks in a row as possible for this situation. So, like, I don't see there being any huge, massive changes coming in that sense. But I think, like, it will be, I think once we get to August, they just want to go, this is the game. This is how it works. This is all the cards that are available for this season are out now. But get ready for new season Europe cards.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then they'll probably have it all worked, they'll have it worked out as much as they possibly can. You know, like, right, we'll do Belgium first week of August, Holland second week, Scotland third week, Austria, England, Germany, Italy, blah, blah, blah. You know, and they'll probably have a much more comprehensive schedule, which I wouldn't be surprised if we got a roadmap around as well, by the way.
True.
I had a roadmap in a while. But yeah, I think it's
nice.
I think it's gearing up that way.
Another one of those like big sort of company-wide updates that we've had a few of, not too many, but I'd love another one of those. That always feels like big things are coming, and we've been able to sort of read on Twitter into what Nicholas has been tweeting about, and they look like they're busy, you know, in the world of, I guess, like the sort of podcast world. They've been talking a lot at the moment to other people, but it'd be nice to get another big sort of like community update from all the team to know what they're all working on, what they're working towards, what we can expect. But yeah, it's been good to see that rollout of the Zidane content. Did you see it, Quinny? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I watched the video on YouTube. I caught all the stuff that I could. It was spine tingling, mate. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of it because, like I said, I put a little tweet out, you know, this is the football game done by football fans, you know, and I've got a little Sorare explainer video going out on the Celtic channel this week that I recorded, but it's one of those ones where, like, Sorare is the game that when you were a football fan growing up, no matter what game you were playing, Football Manager, FIFA, cards and stickers, everyone at some point gets that wee thought of, I wish me realising this, I wish me knowing this, I wish me picking that guy out of the crowd, whatever, could pay off for me somehow, you know? Yeah. And we can't all be full-time scouts and managers and coaches and whatever. So as football fans, it feels like we're always trying to get that sense from games. And it's not only just that, but it's like when you see these, when you normally see this, imagine Sorare didn't exist, right? Zidane's agent or company or whatever would have had that available for somebody anyway, you know? And if it wasn't Sorare, who would have got it? Budweiser or MasterCard or something? And then who wins that? You never know. You know, it's going to be like fucking get a golden can out of your multi-pack or something. You never hear about the winner. You never see anything about it. But then one day they'll just send out some pictures and maybe a wee clip and it's like Zidane, Budweiser and all that, you know? And you would never have known that was actually a thing. But because Sorare are the football fans, they get access to the thing and they're like, we know who's going to be buzzing for this. You know?
Matt, watching the content, I'm like, Zidane's my hero, by the way. He's like my favorite footballer ever, and I may never see a footballer that I enjoy watching more than I did enjoy watching him. He kind of made me fall in love with the game as a teenager. He was incredible. So watching the content and seeing that moment where he sort of stepped into the changing room, and all the guys are kind of just sat there, they didn't get up, and I was like, they were like, "Oh, nice to meet you." You can feel like, oh my god, like. I don't know what I'd have done in that moment, but a part of me is like, I feel like I'd have had to stand up, almost like when you meet the Queen or something. Like, quick, get up! Like, maybe.
I would have stood up for sure, man. I'd have been like,
I would have been up, yeah, without even thinking about it. I would have just been like, up. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I've got a friend who actually met Zidane really briefly at Wembley. He was doing some corporate work for business. He was working for a betting company, and he saw Zidane on the sort of like one of the escalators down, and he said, like, you know, he got to the bottom of the escalators and a lot of people are asking him for photos and pictures, and he was like, no, I want to go and watch the game. And he just sort of, so he's almost like a unicorn in that sense that, like, even people who do see him don't really get the time to sit, talk to him, meet him. These guys spent like what looked like a day with him, and he sat down and had a talk with them after. And yeah, I mean, I think the fact that they played against him is great as well, because it's like one thing to play with him on your team, but I'd love to just see, can you get the ball off him? Like how good are his feet still? Like, there's so many good clips of him online playing indoor football and stuff like that in his playing days. But yeah, what an experience, man. Hopefully another one like that will come up one day, and my cards will all fall in line, and I'll get the opportunity to meet him or do something like play football against him, even just watch him playing like five-a-side or something would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think that was
The next one has to be Messi. Eh? The next World
Oh,
Cup's in
man.
America. Messi, so rare ambassador. You know, like it has to be. Yeah. Win the Global Cup next time. Go hang out with Messi and Busquets and Alba. Play them.
Yeah. Little trip to Miami. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. To be fair, I'd take that 100%.
And the Zidane Unique is up there now as well. We've not seen. I think we've seen R9, but it's probably the second Legends Unique. Maybe there's another one like a Beckham or something floating around, but there's not many. And we've got some of the big whale names chasing it down already. Guys like Roxy and whatever. The price hasn't went anything mega yet, but I think it will go. I think it'll be quite a punchy Unique. That, to be honest with you, Zidane '98 France World Cup winner. It's a bit of an icon in history of football. Period. So it's a nice way to top off the event, which kind of gives us a little bit of a parallel, I suppose, to maybe a bit of a fail. I don't know if you think it's a fail or not. The whole Wembanyama, Sorare NBA trade card, draft card edition thing.
Saw that,
went for 9.9 ETH.
Really? I didn't see what they went for. I loved the look of them, by the way. I thought they looked great. I like the idea of
I thought they looked horrible.
You didn't like them? Oh, I quite like the fact that they weren't in their kit. I thought like that looks like, that's a proper draft. They've got their outfit on, the press photo, they got the hat on and stuff. So I quite like that about it. Design was cool. I thought anyway. I like chains and all that, like 3D elements were pretty cool. But yeah, I didn't follow any of the auctions. I didn't see what they went for. So as I understood it, they were all, correct me if I'm wrong, they were rare cards and there was only one of each. So they kind of almost like a unique, but in a rare scarcity in terms of their utility in SO5, right? So, and they had like a special, like, was it a 10% bonus or 20% bonus season long?
Yeah, they removed that, but
oh, they removed it. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, they changed their mind on that.
Because if you're going to do that, what they should have done, in my opinion, was make them a super rare and then open up a rare pro division that they can be played in like a super rare. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then you don't mess up the game, because imagine if we were allowed to put a 20% bonus rare card in a rare division. It's, if that's a Cecilia or something like that, you're miles ahead of the competition straight away. So I'm glad that they took that away then. It's good that they're listening to the feedback of the community in that sense, because there was a lot of backlash online from that decision, wasn't there?
Yeah. I think I was listening, I listened back to the stream, the Sorare data stream for it. I've not finished it, but I listened to most of it just to catch up with it and see what was going on. And the guys made some good points around the whole, like the way they've done it. They've obviously struggled to identify how to deploy this card. Is it a rare? They've also stayed away from making it a unique. And like you say, maybe super rare might have been the way to go. But I think like with NBA, because it is just NBA, you're not going to get Sorare, I don't imagine them anyway, adding on the French, the Greek, the Spanish basketball divisions or anything. So the draft is like your new influx of players. Now, I'm not saying get a whole new scarcity or whatever, right? But see if you're going to introduce the draft, fair enough, these top 5 guys, they were the first 5 picks or the big 5 names out of it or whatever. But in sports, in American sports, we've all heard 1,000 stories of a guy that was draft pick number 89 that becomes, player of the year and all the rest of it. So I think if you're going to do the draft mode, you give every draft guy at least one card or whatever.
Version. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or even have a draft scarcity and give every guy 5 additions. And it's maybe comparable to a rare or something, but it's a draft thing. And then you can continue that season on season. But then it gives you the scouting potential to go and get the draft card of number 84 pick, and you actually went to school with him and you know him or you've seen him play or fucking whatever. Because for it to only be the top 5, it is a headline grabber. It is a marquee collector event. It's not really the grassroots guy that's going to buy into that. It's not really the hustler, the road to glory player, the guy that's trying to punch above their weight. Whereas in that situation, imagine they did put all the drafts out. I don't know how hard this would be, right? But all the attention will go to Wembanyama and those top 5 guys. And if you are cute and you know your stuff and you know this guy played center defense for fucking Milwaukee or whatever, I don't know, then you get draft pick number 65 and it's like cheapest chips, and then he has a baller of a season, and then, you know, that's part of your win on Sorare NBA, as it were. Another thing I thought I'd throw into this, it'd be interesting to hear anyone in the chats or the comments after we've been live, or we're live now, but another thing that I heard mooted, it might have been on Sorare Data the week before, but they could maybe sell like draft tokens, you know, so like a rare, and it's like draft pick number 1. Whoever's draft pick number 1, that's what this card will transform into. Draft pick number 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
you can just sell them all, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and
for the position that player played in the draft, like, or sat in the draft, if you like. Yeah, I like that. Kind of like a raffle ticket, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'll buy like draft number 89, and you just hope, you know, like that player that you think is going to be there or thereabouts lands on that place in the draft. That's cool. I like that idea. In terms of like porting that kind of ideology to football, I was thinking about this as you were just talking then, and it's almost like every season we'll get like the squads come out. So when the new cards are minted, there might be a couple of players in there that didn't have cards last season that maybe moved up into the first team or come back from loan or done whatever, right? But the thing I love about what you were just saying is maybe like a collectible, you know, we've got rookie cards, but one better than that potentially would be, you know, if each club kind of put forward, say, 3 players from their under 23 squad or something to get like a, I don't know, like a YTS mint or something like that, like up and coming. You know, they might not get much utility that season, but here's their YTS card in a few years' time when they break through. You've got one of only 5 that were minted or something like that. So you have like a low scarcity, more of a collectible for a couple of years, but you know, that's you putting your money where your mouth is. Like, you know, like as a United fan, Kobe Mainu, take his card now, sit on it for a couple of seasons, hope he goes out on loan. If he doesn't, know he's going to be a big player in a few years' time, quite happy to sit on it. Or like Delap at Man City, who has gone out on loan now, but has been like that guy for a couple of seasons. Everyone's waiting for him to come through. Lots of hype around him and his abilities. I think a lot of Sorare managers would take that up. I don't know about you, but would you buy any sort of like YTS cards, Celtic players in the mix in the youth ranks?
I think he definitely would. I'm thinking about Cherki right away. Like, obviously Cherki's been carded, but imagine, like you said, the Delap situation, or, you know, you get these guys that are hyped that never get first team minutes for a season or two before the hype has came, you know, from Twitter accounts or highlight reels or whatever you come across out there. So yeah, it just gets mucky, but because it's like, if you say that to every club that Sorare have got a license for, like, how many of them are actually going to come back to you? Yeah. And then how many of them that you want to come back to you? And then you've got the disparity of, oh, we don't have Bayern Munich this season, but we had them last season because that wee guy never returned his email. Yeah. We've had PSG for 5 seasons and we never get Celtic to respond to an email, so they never get it or whatever. So maybe it just gets a bit mucky, doesn't it? But I think with NBA, it maybe fits a bit better because it's their only fresh intake of player. You know, really, I know they sign people sometimes from Europe and Japan or whatever, but it's their only intake of fresh faces, you know. So I would think it would be more of an event in that they could, monetize it better themselves. You know, I know it's maybe a bit more of a thing this year because it's NBA is still very new. But I just did think it was a wee bit of an opportunity missed, and there was maybe, like, we've got some people telling me what I'm talking about would probably be like quite interesting. Like I say, if you had the full draft selection, I think people would eat that up. 5 editions a card. And then, like, so see with Wembanyama as well, he's got that draft edition. That's the number 1 of, I think, isn't it? Or yeah, so it's one of. And I think I heard the data guy saying his shirt number's 1. So that's like a double bubble effort there for You Never Walk Alone. But the rest of his editions are going to be rookies. And then I wouldn't be surprised to see things by the time we get to the end of the NBA season. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sorares in NBA next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see Rookie of the Year edition cards, MVP edition cards, you know, All-Star of the Year, All-Star team. So I think NBA this year will actually have probably a few different, let's say, special card types. And this Wembanyama, I think it'll be really interesting to look at him end the season if they follow through with that, because you'll have that draft card, you'll have then his rookies, and then if he does perform the way people think he does, maybe he has Rookie of the Year, maybe he has an MVP slot or something. So I think the I think on the football front and on the NBA front, I think there will be a lot more efforts into special editions of some description.
I guess thinking about what I was just saying there as well with the like YTS and the youth and the rookies and all that, we did have the Golden Boy versions, didn't we, last season? I don't know how many of each player there were, but maybe like 4 or 5 was there in each sort of rare scarcity. But we did have like those kind of slightly different design. They looked a bit shiny and kind of interesting looking, but didn't offer any kind of like extra utility. They just looked different. But I like the idea of different looking cards. I know we spoke about it, didn't we, on the podcast recently about the potential to like customize your own cards and things like that. And that's been sort of like chewing away in my head since we spoke about it a week or two back. And I'm sure. So one idea I had in my head was, we were saying about like how we might be able to get players to like sign their card somehow. And I was thinking about how do you mechanize that? How do you make that? So I had this idea, right, literally in the shower the other day. Imagine an app where you link it to your Sorare account. So it logs into your account, a bit like when you log into like Sorare Mega or something. It links to your account. But what it does is it looks at your gallery and it allows you to select. So like, let's say like I go to the Inter Miami training ground and I meet Messi and I want him to sign my Messi rare card. You can do it with like a pen. Our phone's a touchscreen. He can sort of like sign it and bang, like your Messi card is now signed. But then what happens to that? It burns the original Sorare card and like remints the new one in its place with a signature on it. So like actual scribble on it on top of it. It looks the same, but it's got his signature on it. So well, that'd be cool. But then how do you get them? How do you prove that it's them? It's not me just like scribbling Messi on my card or something, right?
Well, so what I was going to say is, I think you'll struggle to get players to do that.
You have to film.
So if you're going to get a digital copy of their signature on your phone, I don't think you'll get many players up for giving you that, mate.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, in theory, it's like, oh, that'd be cool. Like,
yeah, no, I agree with you.
But I don't. Yeah,
that was just the first thought. Imagine going up to Messi and saying, "Sign my phone." What is it? Oh, don't worry about that. Just sign my phone.
An NFT. Yeah. It's an NFT.
Stuff. Don't worry about it, mate. We'll all be fine. Don't worry about it.
That's classic. I tell you what, though, talking on NFTs and like experiences, and we sort of touched on, like, Budweiser being like the kind of thing. I did see very briefly, so I can't go into detail about it, but Binance has some kind of experience with Cristiano Ronaldo where you can go and train with Cristiano Ronaldo if you own one of the like super like limited, like maybe 1 of 5 NFTs. I don't know what they went for, so I can't speak to that, but they definitely do have that kind of thing going for him at the moment. I'm not sure if you saw that, but yeah, it did. There are bits and bobs happening out there, but you talking on that Budweiser, it just popped into my head then that Ronaldo has got something like that available at the moment. But yeah, interesting NFT space. I feel like in terms of like NFTs and all that, I know like Sorare is kind of starting to move slowly away from the crypto thing, which I think is a good shout. I think the NFT space outside of Sorare is kind of like receiving a little bit of almost like people are talking about it again, but in a negative light. Like, look how much money people wasted on this in the last market, blah, blah, blah. However, I do think that, it is that time of the season where if you hold a lot of cards, particularly European, you start to see those prices kind of returning to where they were maybe at the point when they start to come down a little bit at the end of last season. They're almost back where they were. So some of the cards are going up in value, some are going down. Obviously, moves play a part in all of this as well. But yeah, I don't know about you, but my gallery value has been creeping back up the last few weeks. And I'm sure, that does a lot for sort of market sentiment, doesn't it? When everyone feels at least in a bit of a better mood about like where things are going with their gallery. It's always quite disheartening when your gallery's on a sort of downward trend, but I think a lot of that is down to do with the end of the season for the majority of the leagues that are covered, etc. But I think, the hype's building now. We're probably like 3 or 4 weeks away from all the competitions reopening, and, some of them open next weekend. I know Russia's back next weekend. Switzerland is back next weekend. Austria's back next weekend. So we're going to start to see those challenger leagues open up again properly soon. And yeah, I think the sort of major European leagues are normally like 3 to 4 weeks behind that. So we are getting to the business end now. We're in the middle of July. How are you feeling about like your kind of? Do you look much at your gallery value, and does it have an effect on your decision making at all at the moment?
No, I don't really look at the value of it. Like I see it, you know, whenever I look at Sorare data and you open that tab because you kind of not see it. But I say it's going up. No, I think mine has been kind of stagnant. It's not really done much. I've been doing some trading, so maybe some of the trades I've been catching guys as their returning price, and then I'm trading them into something else. So maybe I'm not really feeling the uplift on the gallery value, but I'm feeling an uplift on the quality stakes. You know, I feel pretty well good for the season. And like I've spoke about on my own content, like I've got 5 or 6 like priority divisions for the European season where I'm hoping to win money and stake my claim for being FC Barcelona and all that good stuff, winning trophies throughout the season. But no, I say I'm more looking at balancing the scales all the time. You know, how many forwards have I got? How good is this guy? Oh, this guy's maybe not, like we spoke about with Lino and Zaniolo. Oh, these guys maybe aren't as good as I thought they were going to be this season, and I need to cover that. And then I'm looking at other guys, they've still not transferred. So yeah, I know I feel pretty ready to rock in that sense. I'm really looking forward to Celtic on as well. I'll kind of say this as well, but I had the Celtic podcast about later today on the Celtics are here. But Josh was telling me the team that played, we had a wee behind closed doors friendly yesterday, and it was like a 4-1-4-1 shape that we played. And it was a lot of second string teamers. It was like O and Iwata. A lot of those guys kind of played Kobayashi, Welsh, and whatever. But if we're going to play 4-1-4-1 out off the ball, which is basically 3-4-3 in attack, like I think that would be great for a lot of the cards I've got and a lot of the Celtic players this year. So that's a positive development. So hopefully, see Rio Hatate secure a new contract, hopefully. And then I can maybe sleep a bit easier at night for my defensive options for this season. But otherwise, mate, it's not really gallery values so much as laying the pieces out on the board and seeing where I need to maybe make sure I'm going to be safe and strong.
Shout out Deba, first time chat. That's my boy, hey. Deba. Welcome, mate. Good to see you in the chat. So this brings us on to quite a nice point, actually. So Deba's in the chat now. He's someone I know personally. Worked with him, Pirate Studios, big up the Pirate Gang. And we were discussing in the week, weren't we, like, where do you sort of like scout? How do you keep up to date with like player movements, all that kind of stuff? And obviously, I don't know about you, but a lot of my like research is done quite manually, usually on Twitter, trying to figure out like from my gallery, like, or search players to see if a move's happening, or, you know, if something doesn't pop up from the obvious ones, like your Fabrizio Romanos and people commenting on it. There's always those little things that are bubbling away in the background with some, maybe particularly with like U23s that might be moving or might be getting a loan or might be doing that. Do you have any tips? Are there any places in particular that you use to kind of try and keep on top of that? Obviously, when you've got quite a big gallery, it does get pretty busy, doesn't it? Pretty hectic trying to keep on top of all of it. But, you know, I coming in here and speaking to some of the people in the chat, you know, we had a little shout on Kona and Jocelyn potentially moving to Ghent in the chat earlier. And things like this, I think podcasts help definitely within the sort of Sorare community. But other than the obvious, are there any kind of like places you go to, Quinny, to keep on track with the transfers coming and goings, or are you a bit more manual searching on Transfermarkt and Twitter, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think my kind of feed is well kind of algorithmed into me now, you know, so I seem to get lots of links. But again, communities and the Telegram group I've got for the members and group chats I'm in with friends and whatever is always a great source because you'll never see everything, you know. But yeah, you can't miss Fabrizio Romano and Plettengoal, and there's a few of them that you can't miss, but there's lots of ones. Sometimes you're not too sure, oh, is this guy credible? And sometimes it's just something to do with a club that you don't follow at all. You know, if your guy's going to move to, I don't know, let's say he's moving from Sol to, let's say Union, USG. If you don't follow any USG related accounts, maybe you don't get the breaking news on that move. Until it, later on, kind of idea. So yeah, I don't think there's any real sneakies in that sense. One thing I do like doing, but see if I'm like struggling for inspiration and I'm looking to try and find a card that's undervalued, maybe made a transfer and, whatever, is I like going on to Flash Scores. And if you go into each club, they've got a nice transfer tab of in and out.
Right.
And sometimes, like, if you know, like, for example, oh, I'd love a guy in Russia or Austria or Denmark or whatever, as I used to, I don't do it so much anymore, but we tip for anyone listening, is I would sometimes just go through these clubs in these leagues and just look at their transfer activity and see, oh, they just signed a wee guy from Man City. Oh, they just signed a wee guy from Salzburg, or, you know, whatever. Has he got a card? Aye, he does. Oh, magic. There's a wee guy for nothing.
Quick. Yeah, if you can spot them before anyone else, that's when being the head of the market is really, you know, that helps. And another thing I would say on that point is, like, when you do spot one of them, because sometimes I'll be alerted to some of these like under the radar moves by someone putting in an offer on a card of mine. Like this week, I had like a couple of offers come in on 30 Druth for Rapid Vienna. And I thought, why have I got 2 offers on that particular player? Straight away, quick Google search. He's linked to go back to the Eredivisie. He's likely to be playing for Zwolle, who came up. I think the deal's been done today. So obviously 2 or 3 people had like got in early on that, put in a couple of offers. But as soon as they put the offer in, that alerted me as a holder to the news. I think if you can nick one of those cheap cards, don't put the offer in. Just get it. Go and get it. I saw one yesterday. I think it was a player that I used to have a card of, Harold Makudi, Cameroonian international, was minted with Saint Etienne, moved to the Greek league last year, so Red X. I think I sent him to Pavel or something like that. And he has been linked to Bruges. And I put an offer in. There was a super rare of his up available for 0.08. And I thought, that's pretty good, but I could probably knock it down. He's still got a Red X, they might not know. Put in an offer. Someone else just paid the money. I was probably trying to save myself about 20 quid at the end of it. But someone picked his super rare up for like 100 quid. And, you know, when he was at Saint Etienne, he could put like a 60 score up pretty normally. You know, centre-back, international pedigree, move into a club like Bruges, if he starts, could easily be a 60 to 70 a week scorer. So yeah, that's my advice. If you do get any of these tips early, if you spot something on Flash Score that comes up, maybe hasn't landed in like the big, just get in there. And, you know, if the floor price is sensible and it's not like one of those floor prices that's priced based on the hype, that's another thing.
Yeah,
floor price isn't always good. Sometimes the people have priced it based on the fact they know that people are going to come in and try and pick up the floor cards. But yeah, it's a lot of manual work, isn't it? I think, like you said, another good tip that you put out there, if you're following like the fan accounts, the fan owned run like Twitter accounts for news of like your FC Seoul or, you know, Ajax or whoever it is that you're trying to keep on top of, like transfer wise, that's definitely a good shout. Following the fan based, because they retweet everything from everywhere, that, you know, they're on top of everything about that specific club. But yeah, been trying to spot a few. I find FOTMob app on my phone quite good because you can follow players or clubs, and then if anything does, you get a notification like front screen, and there is a transfers tab on there as well that, like, as soon as any transfer comes in it to anywhere, it just pings up like a timeline of this person's moved here to there. Yeah, Ian So Rare saying it's updated very quickly. Even small ones, you know, loans, players being released, that kind of stuff's all on there. Contract extensions, all that kind of stuff. Quinny, on that note, anything in your gallery, any players that have got a little loan, got a move that makes you more excited for them next season than you were last?
I don't think anything is materialised that we've not maybe spoken about already. I think I was quite happy with some guys I bought last week or something. But I don't think anything's happened in the last week or so. Angelino is confirmed move to Galatasaray.
Yep.
Is fantastic that's done. It was rumoured for about a week or two. And I actually went and picked up, you're talking about really cheap guys, I went and picked up a really cheap centre-back by the name of Filip Benkovic. Used to play for Celtic. A lot of guys will know him. Chani won his super rare recently, so maybe some people have heard his name recently. That'll be why. I used to have him ages ago at Udinese, but anyway, he's just transferred from Bundesliga to Turkey, to Trabzonspor. And I think he's going to be a killer. And I was looking at him in the market. The floor price was 0.19 Ethereum, which was £28. The number one of was £33. So I was like, I'll just buy that. And then that's a 1% bonus paid for a fiver. I thought it was all right. And again, that's kind of one of those ones where I thought, oh, maybe I'll send an offer and try and get £5 off it or something, try and get the floor. It's like, just bloody buy it. And, deal with it later.
Yeah.
If you don't want to send somebody an offer, they get annoyed and raise the buy now price on you, then you're screwed even harder,
Yeah, I've had a couple of like random little moves. I had a couple of players, I think, in a Serie B in Italy. I think Di Taccio, super rare, has moved to one of the clubs who just came up. So I'm not sure if that's good or bad for him because he's a defensive mid. He might be a bit busier. More duels. I don't know if that's going to be a good move or not. But one that did pique my interest this week was Fabio Barini, who has moved to Sampdoria. He's going to be linking up with Pirlo there. So I think that, moving from being one of the top scorers, if not the top scorer, I think, in the Superliga in Turkey last season, to Serie B with a team that should be, among the top clubs in Serie B with a manager like Pirlo, who, if I'm not mistaken, was managing him at Karagümrük in the Superliga, right, until he left. I might be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that he's. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah. So he has re-linked up with him in Serie B, which, we'll see if we're going to get Sampdoria cards next season, because we've had them before, but they've obviously been relegated. I don't know what the kind of deal is there. But yeah, I think that'll be an interesting one. And it brings me on to another point that we haven't discussed just yet on the subject of licenses and what's coming next season. And in the week, I don't know if you saw it, Quinny, but I think it was Genesis on Twitter mentioned that some of the French Ligue 1 licenses seem to have disappeared away from the kind of partners on the Sorare website. That included PSG, Reims, Monaco, and another team, I forget, maybe Lens or something like that, said that they've disappeared from the kind of like partners, which you could see one of two ways. Maybe that means that they're not renewing because they're too expensive or they're not interested. Or does it mean that Sorare's picked up the full Ligue 1 license and doesn't need, they're going to fall under the blanket license versus the individual deals that they had with them up to this point. But I guess, like, obviously I've won Donnarumma and I won Mbappe this season. So if we don't get PSG cards next season, great for me. But how potentially damaging, like in terms of PR, could that be if they've lost those licenses, especially being a French-based business? What do you think? Are you concerned, or do you think this is just Sorare moving to, finalize those deals or pick up the full league?
I'm not too sure about making these things. I never really know how to take it, to be honest with you. But I think overall, like, they are looking to secure a deal with the entire French league. The PSG deal it'll be probably 2 years old this.
Yeah,
maybe 3. Not
they came on late, didn't they? They always seem to start late in, like, maybe a few months into the season. They'll pop on near Christmas time, or
maybe it was late 2020. Yeah, it must have been late 2020. So this will be year 3 once we get to like winter this year. So I don't know if it would have been a 3-year deal or whatever. So it does seem, but again, I think with a lot of these clubs where maybe their contract has been a bit, let's say, flimsy, as soon as AFC Sorare are making all this money and they're taking over the world and whatever, a lot of these guys will try and be like, hold on a minute. Don't you sell another card until we renegotiate this deal because something and blah, blah, blah. And so I never really know how to look into it. I don't see anyone not wanting, to be honest, Sorare at this point. I don't see anyone not wanting to, sell their cards and engage with the community and all that kind of stuff at this point. So it must feel like, so I really don't know how to read it. Because again, when this has happened in the past, I always just imagine it could just be somebody's reformatted the page and unticked a box they didn't mean to tick, or I don't know. But normally that's not been the case. Normally, when clubs are removed from the licensing page, it normally signifies a renegotiation or something's happened, So maybe that's a bit naive, but that does always come into my mind, is like, you don't know why this has happened. Like, it could have just been somebody sneezed. It probably isn't, but it does cross my mind.
I think only time will tell on that one. Anyway, we can only like sit here and speculate. We don't know what's going on in the background, really. And I mean, I can't. I guess there are people out there that keep an eye on those kind of like pages and see what's going on, like what teams have disappeared from that list and what have like joined. And I guess that was always a big part of it, wasn't it? Like trying to spot something before anyone else did. Like for a while, that would have been like a new license coming, right? Someone would have been like, oh, so-and-so's cards have updated, their pictures have changed. And we haven't had that buzz about any, because obviously most of the leagues are licensed now. It's more, I think this is the norm now. Like, oh, something's disappeared that might not be covered next year. And people reacting to that rather than getting in the Sorare Data API and trying to spot players who've got new faces or something like that because they're coming soon. Or so yeah, I think yeah, interesting little caveat that fingers crossed we do get the French leagues back on, and yeah, I'd like to see the full league on. I mean, we got all the sort of second tiers, haven't we? So be interesting to see as well, you know, the championship, what comes of those players in the teams that have gone down, or do we get more? What happens to the clubs that had licenses last season, etc., etc. I think we got a lot, you know, a lot of this stuff will pan out in the next few weeks and become apparent. But yeah, I think it's good that we got people looking out in that sense. Shout out Genesis, the beady eyes on the community there. Quinny, we come up to the hour mark. Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that we were going to talk about? I can't think.
I think that's all she wrote, Slishy Boy, for ourselves. We're just trotting on with some wee bits of end product week to week, and we're waiting for that magical August-September time to come, which we're not too far away from, mate.
Yeah, I'm not expecting too much this midweek. I think while we've been on air, the FC Seoul scores have been updated. I wasn't expecting big things because I watched the game. Even though they ran out 7-2 winners, I was a bake concerned that I could get a like error led to goal for Baek Jong-bum and one for Osmar. And the scores have updated. And I think I was saying yesterday, I think the Baek one was almost a given because it was like a parry into the striker that he should have probably held. But actually, they've given one to Osmar because he didn't deal with a defensive situation on the second goal. And Baek has got away with it. He hasn't got one, but still, he's conceded 2 goals. So his AA is 5.6, which isn't going to help me at all. And Osmar's put up a massive AA of 22.7, but that error knocks him down to 37.7 points, which, yeah, I think that spells the end of any end product in the Super Rare division for me in the midweek. The only hope that I have to hold out for is All-Star Rare Pro. I've got 2 players left to play in that, currently sat on 270 points. Got a goalkeeper and Alan Cervantes Super Rare. They play against each other. So we'll be hoping for a full-bodied 0-0 draw in that one. Plenty of defensive actions from Cervantes and a clean sheet for Vargas. I'll take that all day long. And hopefully we'll have some interesting end products to talk about on next week's show. Quinny, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Shout out everyone who's been in the chat. Sorry if the visual was a little bit choppy, but thanks for the feedback in the chat. People letting us know that the sound is all right. So even if it's not quite as visually pleasing, hopefully we got all the information across. Always a pleasure, never sure, Quinny. Have a good weekend, mate, and everyone else. And yeah, hope to catch up with you all again this time next week.
Have fun, everyone. Take care.
Cheers all. Big up.